everybody. It's the weekend edition of Proline. It's the first weekend edition of the college football season, and we've got two good games to break down and hopefully get to the winning side on. Northwestern at Boston College. BYU heading down to the SEC to face Ole Miss. Jeff Sads here from Las Vegas Sports Services. I'm Dave Koken. Great to have you with us. Let's tell you also about some opportunities for you to make some money this weekend. I've got a 3-game package for just $3. This is dynamite. 3 outstanding games. UCLA at Houston, Fresno State visiting Cal, although it's not at Cal, it's going to be at Candlestick. Cal's doing some renovations this year and won't be playing their home games at home. And Louisiana Tech at Southern Mississippi. All 3 games for $1 apiece, just $3 for all 3 games. 1-866-841-1665 is the number to call. Take advantage of the early season opportunities that are there in college football. It's that simple. I'm going to get the right side of these 3 games. That's going to give you a great chance to cash 3 winning tickets. 1-866-841-1665. Your $3 investment gets you 3 outstanding plays. Jeff, big game for you, a game of the month to kick things off.
Non-conference game of the month goes on Saturday. It's only $10. Just call LBSS toll-free 1-866-575-8918. I started off 2-0 on Thursday, so you don't want to miss out this big game. Non-conference game of the month, $10, 1-866-575-8918.
All right, let's head to the gridiron and look at a couple of games of interest. Northwestern facing Boston College. Unfortunately, this is kind of the injury bowl. Montel Harris is out for Boston College. He is their most dynamic player, a great running back, one of the best in the country. Probably going to miss a couple of games. And the extremely talented Dan Persa for Northwestern, he's got an elbow, and he's listed as doubtful right now. I don't see how that, look, I don't know. Maybe something will happen and he can get out there and play, but I don't see it. I'd be surprised, and particularly in a non-conference game this early in the season. I'd be surprised if he's out there for Northwestern. He's listed as doubtful, and it wouldn't shock me if he sits out next week as well. I mean, why risk a guy who your whole season is banking on? Persa's a great quarterback. This guy last year was sensational. Stepped in, 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's a threat running the ball. Just a very savvy guy for Northwestern. He's going to be missed tremendously this weekend. In Boston College, holy cow, they got a slew of injuries. We mentioned the running back, but that's not the only guy out for Boston College. They have taken – I can't imagine that Spaziano's real happy about the way things are going to start the season for this football team. What a mess. You got both starting safeties are out for the year. You got at least projected starting safeties. Donnie Fletcher, who's one of the starting cornerbacks, he's injured. You mentioned Montel Harris. Nathan Richmond, I don't think he's going to be out there. He's their left guard. It's just up and down the lineup. That's not a good way to start the season. But I think the Persa injury is bigger, Jeff. I think it's just that simple. As good as Harris is, they've got a pretty good backup, or not backup, but a guy who shares the backfield, Andre Williams. He's not quite the threat that Harris is, but he's a solid back. He averaged almost 5 yards per pop last year, and Harris had injury issues last year too, so it's not like Williams is unused to this role. I think he can step in there and be functional. I'm not sure, even though the depth chart took a big hit in the secondary with the losses of the 2 projected starting safeties, I think they're going to be okay in that area, and it's not. They're simply not going to be as tested with Persa not on the field. I think it's more damaging on the Northwestern side if Persa can't go, and that's the if here. It is doubtful, so he could possibly play, I guess. If he's out there, if they deem him well enough to play, well, I wouldn't want this selection. I don't want to lay 4.5 points from Boston College, but as it stands, if Persa's not there, I think BC finds a way to get through this, Jeff.
Well, obviously, this is not a game I'm going to bet or give out in any way, shape, or form. I just can't pick a side in this game. The total is 54. That's probably where I'll go if I have to make a choice here. You mentioned Montel Harris is out, and even Andre Williams is not 100%. There's no guarantee he's going to go tomorrow, so it just keeps getting worse for BC here. Dan Persa, doubtful. His backup would be sophomore Kenny Coulter. So if he starts, he'll be making his first start on the road, which is usually not a good thing for a young quarterback at least. Last year, Boston College led the country in rushing defense. 7 starters returned there on defense, but they averaged only 18 points per game last year. So Northwestern has 9 starters back on offense, and they averaged nearly 400 yards last year, but then again, Purse's out. So there's really not much I can say about this game because there's just too many factors, too many injuries, and too many things that can go wrong for each side. If I had to choose, I would go with the under. But either way, this is not a strong opinion whatsoever. No. I'll take the game to go under if I have to.
Yeah, I'll tell you that I would have been a Northwestern had Purse been healthy here. I like this football team. I really like their coach. And I thought Northwestern, when I was doing my preseason stuff, this is a game I circled, not as a monster play or anything like that, but I thought Northwestern had a better chance to get out of the gate. I got to tell you, I don't like the BC quarterback very much. Bet under makes a little more sense than my side, to be honest with you. I probably ought to lean that way, but we'll call it Boston College for a lean. The other game, BYU, the newly independent BYU Cougars. Mm-hmm. They are on the road. They're heading down to hot and extremely humid Oxford, Mississippi, and to face the Rebels of Ole Miss. I wonder about the weather. You know, altitude teams going into that humidity, not the best thing in the world, but that's the only thing that's holding me back from making this a little stronger opinion. I didn't play this game, but Jeff, I'm looking at the BYU side, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But it's your turn to go first, so fire away.
Well, it's not often where the weather is a major factor in the game, but in this situation, I think it is. And remember last year, BYU went to Florida State in the heat and humidity and lost 34-10. I checked the weather report for Oxford, Mississippi on Saturday. The high temperature is 97, humidity 51%. That's hard for anybody to get used to if you're not from the South. As we spoke about Ole Miss in the SEC preview, they have 9 starters back, including the entire offensive line. They're in the toughest division of the SEC. So I think they have a decent team this year. I think they definitely will go to a bowl game and improve on last year's 4-8 record. They have Brandon Bolden back at tailback. BYU has Jake Heaps at quarterback. He's very good quarterback, improved a lot last year. But they have injuries. The kicker, Justin Sorensen, is questionable. Their starting tight end is out. They were 1-5 on the road last year straight up. So all those factors put together, I'm going to lead toward Mississippi in this game because they're definitely their home. This once again not a huge play for me. It'll probably be a 5-star play, but I'm going to go with Mississippi on Saturday over BYU.
That weather is interesting. I mean, it's tough for BYU, but I like the way this team closed last season. BYU looked like they were on their way to one of their worst seasons in who knows how long. You got to go back to the early part of the decade when they slipped. It just didn't go well at the end of the Edwards regime, and they were a bad team at that point. But last year, this team starts off, it's barely get past Washington, get destroyed at the Air Force, get destroyed at Florida State, lose big at home to Nevada, get bombed out at Utah State, 31-16 at Utah State they lose. They got a gift win against San Diego State, which they absolutely stole. It was a huge, huge bad call in that game that cost San Diego State the game. Got killed by TCU, barely beat Wyoming, and then all of a sudden, it clicked. UNLV went in, and UNLV laid down in the second half of the game, and Bobby Hauck wasn't real happy about it, as I recall. But they beat the crap out of the Rebels, 55-7, and from that point on, this was a different football team. Annihilated Colorado State, crushed New Mexico, lost by 1 at Utah in the Holy War, and that was a heck of a football game, and then played a great bowl game. I know it was against UTEP, but they were impressive in that game. I think they've got a lot of momentum coming into this season, and they're going to be a good offensive football team. We're going to get back to what we used to see out of BYU. They're going to put points on the board, okay? Jake Heaps was an extremely highly regarded recruit. True freshman, yeah, he made mistakes. But I'll tell you what, this kid's a player. I like the way he closed last season. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's going to make things happen on the field for BYU. And the only question I have on BYU is, do they maintain their intensity as an independent? They're not in the conference race. It'll be interesting to see how they react to that. They're playing a lot of the same teams, but what an interesting schedule they've got. The start of their season is really where their biggest games are. It's obviously to play on the road against an SEC team is big. Then they've got Texas next week, and then the Holy War being moved up. It's the third game of the season. They're not conference rivals anymore. That's still going to be huge. It'll be interesting to see how they maintain their interest at the end of the season. They got a couple of bye weeks and a bunch of games that really aren't that big at the end of the season. I'm not sure what to make of Mississippi. I'm really not. I can't tell you a whole lot about Barry Brunetti. He's their starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. I'm not hearing sensational things about him. He was projected as the backup. He's not a very big guy. And he's a transfer, by the way. He was West Virginia recruit. Played a little bit there, but very little. He was a high recruit, okay? I mean, he was a top 10 recruit. So apparently there's some skills there, but it's tough when you're a rookie starter, so to speak. This is his first college football start. I like Bolden, the running back, a lot to like there. In fact, he had a heck of a year last year. Ran for over 1,000 yards, averaged 6 yards per pop. This guy's talented. The defense, though, this is where I don't like the matchup for Ole Miss. They've only got 4 starters back on defense. It's kind of an inexperienced group, and they're facing what I think is a very talented offense. I'm going to take a shot and go over in this football game. I think this is one of those games where the heat you could see some guys cramping up out there. That has a tendency to impact the defense more than the offense. And I think this could be a high-scoring football game. I think Houston ought to put some stuff in place for Brunetti. They've got the good running game, and I think they can do some damage against BYU in that regard. Although BYU wasn't awful against the run last year, but I think Ole Miss can wear them down with their offensive line. It's a pretty big line. 330, 308, 310, 300, 322. That's some size. So I think you could see a lot of scoring as this game moves on. I like Heaps a lot for BYU. I think he's going to have a big year. That's my side in this one. I'm not really my call on this one, Jeff. I don't know who's going to win this football game. I can see BYU being favored, but not going to shock me if they lose the game, especially with a couple of key guys missing. Would not surprise me at all to see this thing get into the 60s, though. I think this could be one of those 35-28 type football games, something like that, over on the total. The 3 games that I'm giving out as part of the special: UCLA Houston, Fresno State Cal, Louisiana Tech Southern Miss. Make sure and call for these 3 games. I think they're good plays. I really do. All 3 games for just $3. 1-866-841-1665, the number to call. Make sure and call right away, because this is basically a Friday-only special. I want you to call by the end of the day on this one. It's going to be jammed. It always is, especially the first weekend of the season. And on Saturday, it's not that we don't want new people to call, but better off calling on Friday so we can explain to you why we like these games and what you should do with them. Jeff, you've got a big game. Game of the month to start things off. That's serious stuff.
Non-conference game of the month, and it's only $10. Just call LBSS toll-free, 1-866-575-8918. This is my first big game winner of the season in college football. Non-conference game of the month, $10. 1-866-575-8918.
That's it for the first weekend edition of Proline. We want to let people know the big Proline is back. We will tape our first show next week. You'll be able to catch it on Friday, and we'll be back with the fancy set and all that stuff. It's going to look great, and we hope you'll check it out. Jim Feist will be there. Scott Spreitz will be there. Big Al McMorty will be there. I'll be there. We're going to have a lot of fun, and hopefully have a lot of winners for you all year long on Proline, so be sure and check that out. Meanwhile, we'll return on Monday with another edition, kind of recap what took place over the weekend and take a look at some good stuff that's forthcoming on the gridiron. For Jeff Side, I'm Dave Koken. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great weekend. Win a bunch of money. We'll talk to you on Monday.